Alright, I've been making beats and I've been actually making music for more than 15 years now, and I've been using Ableton for about 10 years now. When I think back at everything that I've learned in these 10 years on mixing, on producing, on how to make beats, on all that, there's only one thing that sticks out. And once I've learned this, my beats sounded amazing, well, at least better, and just everything started to go better from there, and I started to get a little more technical and learn a little more about the physics behind the music and the science behind producing and making beats. So let's talk about it. Hey guys, Eric Dubois with edpbeats.com, and today we're going to talk about sidechain compression. So if you already know what sidechain compression is, don't worry about it, but I'm going to show you some tricks and tips here on sidechain compression and some cool things you can do in Ableton using only Ableton stock plugins, and some workarounds if you're having trouble finding a good sidechain compression. It's always good to learn more. If you don't know what sidechain compression is, this is the video that's going to change your beat making procedure. Sidechain compression is, like the name says, it's a compressor that's going to be triggered, sidechained, by something else in your track. So usually we have the kick triggering the compressor so that it squishes the sound whenever the kick hits. Any problems you have mixing your bass and your kick together, that's going to help it out a lot, because the bass is going to duck while the kick pops in, and you're going to hear it much more clearer, and it's going to sound much more glued together. Also, once you start learning about sidechain compression, you're going to hear it in every single one of your favorite tracks on the radio. So might as well start learning that trick now. So we're going to go over a few steps. So first off is if you make your own drums. So if you have a solo kick, you can be able to sidechain compress super easily, and I'm going to show you this. So here in Ableton, I have two tracks. I have a drum track, which is a drum rack, the basic Candler kit that you have in stock Ableton. Here are the drums. So as you can see, the kick is right here, so I can solo the kick. We're going to use this kick to be able to trigger the sidechain compression on our other track, which is out of my sample pack, Future Volume Sample 2, which is just a loop melody. Not a big deal. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna make it sound way better by using sidechain compression and by sidechaining the kick so that the compressor is gonna be triggered when the kick hits, and it's gonna duck the volume of our loop here, so that everything kind of blends together and it feels, you can really feel the groove of the drums a little bit better. So here we go. So first off, we're gonna find our compressor and we're gonna drag it onto our loop track. All right, here it is. Now where the magic happens is this little triangle right here. So we're gonna click on that. It's gonna open our sidechain parameters. So we're gonna turn on the sidechain. We're going to choose what audio is going to trigger the compressor. So what we want, as we said before, is on our drum kit, we want this kick thud to be triggering the compressor. So we're going to go to Candler kits, which is our drum kit, and we're going to find the kit thud pre-effects. Now let's play them both. What we're going to do to have a better visual, we're going to turn on the graph right here. And what you see here in gray is your kick. And the line here is the threshold. This orange part right here is the sound ducking, right? So whenever that kick hits, you can see that it ducks the volume of our main loop here. So now we're going to tweak these parameters so that we have a nice ducking happening. So you don't want it to duck too much. You want it to have a nice peak to make it nice and clean. So let me show you. All right, so first we're gonna lower the threshold a little bit. And you see our duck, it's kind of rounded. It should look like a nice little triangle, very sharp duck. So the way to modify this is modifying the signal that is triggering the compressor. We're gonna use the EQ to filter out a nice little click of the kick, actually. So we're gonna turn on the EQ, turn on the headphones so we hear what's going on, turn off our loop, and let's listen. So that's the kick that's triggering all this. So here we go, we're gonna go and filter out. So usually we want the high frequencies of the kick to be able to trigger it. So let's tweak these. That's a nice, right there you have a nice little peak, right? So we can lower the threshold a little bit more, and now we're having a nice little duck going on here. So after we've done all this, take off the headphones, turn everything back on. Now we can play with these three parameters here. So you have the ratio, the attack, and the release. The ratio is how much it's gonna be ducking. So how strong the compressor is gonna be working actually. So you have a ratio from 2 to 1, and you can go all the way up to infinity to 1. So you're gonna have, as you can see here, it's gonna duck really hard. So let's just go with that and see what sounds better. The attack is gonna tell you when it starts compressing, right when it hits, when the trigger, right when the compressor is triggered, it's gonna start compressing, or a little bit later. And I always like to have like a short attack. That's good. And the release is just the release. So whenever the compressor is not triggered anymore, it's gonna wait a certain amount of time before stopping the compression. So quick release, long release, that's where you start tweaking in your parameters to fit the sound that you want. So let's listen. So you can see with the long release, it stays triggered for a long time. And so the sound, you can really hear it now in the loop, it's getting ducked like crazy. That's pretty good for me. So now let's listen to it without and then with it. So here's without. Raise up the threshold a little bit. Without again. So you can notice two things. One, you can really feel the kick a lot more because there's nothing bothering the frequencies of the kick. There's nothing clashing with it, so it just pops out way more. And two, you can hear the solo. So let's solo our audio loop so that you can hear what happens. So you can hear it duck, right? And those are ducking especially at the kick, whenever the kick hits. So what I do, I sidechain compress pretty much everything that's on that's in my song, so that everything is blended in well with the drums and with the kick. Now, another thing is if you don't have your kick already soloed out, and if you can't manipulate your kick and you're using a drum loop, for example, where all the drums are in one audio file, and you can't choose a specific part to be able to sidechain with. So let's show you that right now. So now how are we gonna do it, since we have this audio sample right here for the drums? How are we gonna be able to cut off the kick and have it sidechain to the other? So let me show you this real quick. So in our compressor, we're gonna select the new audio, which is the EDP drums. I think this one. Let's play it. So as you can see here, everything is triggering the compressor, and we have this really awkward sound. So how to make it better is using, again, the EQ section of our compressor to pinpoint specifically where that kick is, and we're gonna be using that. So let's solo only the instrument, solo what we're hearing with the EQ, and let's find where our kick is. There we go. Let's fine tune the Q. Nice. Lower the gain. Okay, so we use the EQ section, using a low pass filter around 80 Hertz to find that specific kick moment. And now we can see on our graph here that the kick is triggering the compressor. So now the same thing as before, we're gonna fine tune our ratio, our attack, our release, to be able to have something that sounds nice and tight. And there we go. So let's listen to it without the compressor and with the compressor. And that's it. And that's how we go with a loop. So it's a little bit less precise, but it's still, you can still make it work with the loop. Now, a third thing, you don't need to sidechain compress everything. If you're doing a dance track, for example, and the kick is really a four to the floor, boom, 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 super regular, you don't need to sidechain compress the kick to the sounds. It makes no sense because you can directly automate the volume to fit the kick, if that makes any sense. Here we have a nice little house track. The kick is always on the one. We don't need to sidechain compress for this. So as you can see here on the graph of the compressor, we have a more or less regular peak, right? So instead of using a compressor this time to have the same effect, what we're gonna do is use a auto pan. Auto pan is going to allow you to duck the volume, that is the goal of the compressor, is to duck the volume to let the kick go through. So the sidechain compressor is going to duck the volume of our loop whenever the kick hits. So if you have a really rhythmic kick, you can't really automate the volume at every single kick that hits manually. It just takes forever. So that's why we use a sidechain compressor, because it's going to do it automatically. Now, if you're doing a dance song where it's a really four to the floor kick, you don't need to use a sidechain compressor to have that ducking effect. You can use just a simple auto pan or another automated service that will just duck at a certain point in time. So every quarter note is going to duck the volume of the loop, and you have the exactly same effect, and it's going to sound way better. So in order to do that with Ableton, you just pull out your auto pan, raise the amount all the way, drop the phase all the way down so that we don't have any stereo effect going on. So now this is only the volume that's being played. If I solo the loop, you can hear it. It's ducking the volume. We're having the same effect as with the sidechain compressor, but only with an auto pan. So now we're gonna play this a little bit. So if you remember how the graph looked on the sidechain compressor, we want it to kind of look triangular. So we're going to click on our saw wave right here, flip it to invert so that it ducks when the kick hits, which is on the 1, and slowly comes back. So we're going to play a little bit. The tempo, I want it to be 1/4, a quarter notes, because that's when our kick hits. And we're going to play with the shape a little bit to have it a little more rounded. Now let's listen to it. With the drums. So you can hear it just ducking at the same time that the kick is coming in. Let's turn it off and turn it back on and see our difference. You can play with the amount of the auto pan to not have it duck as much, to still keep some volume going on. So let's duck it and let's try to find a good point. Right there is pretty good. And let's turn it on and off. So here's off. So you can really hear how those two loops just glued together, and they feel like they're dancing together in a way. And that's how you do it. So those are my 3 tricks on sidechain compression. So once I've learned this technique of sidechain compression and gluing things together, it just made my beats sound much easier. So if you have any other tips or what you've learned that you feel has changed your game, leave it in the comments below. I would love to learn it. And if you have any questions, again, I'm always reachable. You can send me an email. I'll try to help you out as much as I can. Follow me on Patreon to get the sample packs. Every month I come out with a new sample pack only on Patreon, and I also do some weekly vlogs on what's going on in the studio and what I try to do to progress my career. So check out Patreon for that. Hit a like, hit a subscribe, all that things that I need to say, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. So, peace.